We're up to Daf Lamed Hey Amud Aleph. The last thing we learned in the Mishnah was if a woman a widow wants to come and collect her ksuva, and she would need to swear, like she didn't receive any part payments, but we denied an almana the opportunity from swearing, as opposed to a divorcee, that she can't swear because of the divorcee. People took shuas very, very severely, but an almana sometimes she can convince herself that she's entitled to some of those benefits because she works so hard on behalf of the orphans, and therefore she doesn't consider them as payments for ksuva, but rather as down payment, but rather as payment for her hard work. So she is very false. So we brought the story how we need to treat a shua so carefully and be so meticulous and make sure that you're 100% accurate when you make your shua. And but the Mishnah does give Gamil came along and said, instead of a shua, make her neder. That is, what you do is you tell the woman makes a neder and says, I did not get any part payment from the ksuva, but if I did, then all the fruits of the world are forbidden to me. So that is not as severe, and that we're prepared to do. So we are up to the Gemara here, in the middle of the page. Omar Rav Yehuda, it's about 20 lines on top of the page. Omar Rav Yehuda, Omar Rav Yirmiyah, Rav Yehuda said the name of Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba. Rav Shmuel, the Amitabai, according to this version of the Gemara, both Rav and Shmuel both say, Lo Shanu Ela Bezin. When is a shvua really considered very strict, very stringent, and therefore we disallow an almana from making the shvua is only in front of a bezin, because then the shvua is mahatera, or some have a version it's showing it's like mahatera. And because this particular kind of a shvua is not from the Torah, because it's not a question of like a partial admission or made of mixes. It's just that we want to make sure that she didn't get any part payment before. So it's like a shvua Torah, and you have to hold a sefer Torah in your hand or a pair of tefillin, and it's very severe. But according to this version, Rav and Shmuel both agree. But if outside the bezin, outside the bezin, we can make her swear, because outside the bezin, the shvua is not so severe, the punishment is not so quick and not so severe either, because you don't hold something in your hand, or it's midrabanan only. So therefore, we do allow shvua. So then, so every month we have two options now. We can either make her swear outside of the bezin, or we make her make that neder that all the fruits of the world are forbidden to me. So you have two options. So anyone Aini, it's not so. How can you tell me Rav Shmuel will say that? Well, Rav himself, like magbik ksuva la malta. Rav said, I would never give a ksuva to an almana. And in other words, he didn't have this option of swearing outside of the bezin. So we say kasha. It's a problem how Rav can say that you have an alternative swearing outside the bezin, and then Rav said a woman cannot accept ksuva, and because we don't accept her, cannot collect her an almana, a widow cannot collect her ksuva because we don't trust her with a shua. So there's a contradiction seen between Rav and Rav, but we don't have a way to resolve it. But there's another version, and that version is no contradiction. The Mesura Masnach is how the Mesura. They're very differently. Rabbi saying it was only Shmuel who said Leishano Bezin, that only in the Bezin we don't allow her to swear. Outside the Bezin you do make her swear. But the Rav disagreed with Shmuel. Rav says, I feel we don't allow us to swear even outside the Bezin, because the Shmuel is a Shmuel. Even with the Shmuel Rabbanan, and even if there's only kit of chayfish not holding on to Sefer Torah, it's still a very severe thing, and we don't want her to have any shua whatsoever. Then Rav Tameh, that Rav is very consistent. The Rav said, "Le magbik ksuva al malta." Rav would not give a ksuva to an almana via swearing. Okay, he didn't want her to suffer the consequences, because they can convince themselves that the swearing is correct, when in fact it isn't. Says the Gemara, the Mishnah gives us another alternative. Okay, you don't like the option of swearing outside the bezin. For you, it's the same thing. But with the Mishnah, there's a kind of that you make her make a neder. You say that I did not take any part payment of the ksuva, and if I did, all the fruits of the world, for example, will be also to me. Make her that neder. So the Gemara, that in times of Rav, people didn't treat the Dharm seriously, therefore he didn't trust the neder. The same problem he had with the shul he had with the neder. Didn't trust him. So the Gemara, those people made a neder, and then they just they transgressed. They breached the Dharm. Ahida also in the a woman came before Rabuna. Oh my Lord, he said to her, and she come, you're coming to collect her ksuva. She's a widow. She wants a ksuva. So Rav Huna said, "Ma avila, what can I do?" The Rav le'mag b'ksuva la'amalta. Rav said that we cannot give a ksuva to a widow because what are we going to do? We want to make sure that you swear that you didn't get any part payment, but we don't trust you. We don't want to give you the opportunity to swear. And like Rav, not inside the bezin, not outside the bezin. We cannot give a neder. We cannot give a neder because nobody takes the door seriously today. So you're stuck. Amrle, this woman obviously was a big time chacham. She said, "Medihu time. What's the whole reason? Ella dilma kit me yading savosi. The only reason why you don't want to give it to me is because you're scared that maybe I already got part payment. Chai asher tzvaka. She volunteered. Nobody asked her to make a shvur. She volunteered. I swear in Abel's name. Even the hanesi miksavosi klum. I swear in Hashem's name. If I had any benefit whatsoever from my ksuv. So she swore already. No, we won't give her a paskin. You know what? Swear and collect. But she swore already. And therefore, because she swore already, she jumped in the head and she swore. Nobody told her to swear. She swore already. She swore. The fact is now that she swore, we'll trust her that she's saying the truth, and therefore we will let her accept her ksuva.
Is that a lesson of neder or?
No, even the Chai Tzvak is neighbor's name. You don't make a neder in neighbor's name. So this is a shvur. So this is the case of a woman who actually was a big time chacham and taught us in halacha. The only case is a bit sad. And sometimes the law can be very cold and brutal, and here you see right how it plays out. There's another woman, the Asl Kameh, the Rabba Barabuna. This is Avuna's son. It's the next generation. Rav had a student of Avuna, and then Avuna had a student and his son, Rabba. So Rabba Barabuna, so it's 2 generations later, a woman came to him to collect her ksuva. Amala, he said to her, "My Avila, can't help you, sorry." The Rav says that we cannot give a ksuva to almana because we are not going to allow you to swear, nor nedarim because nedarim, you don't take it, you don't take it seriously. And my own father, my teacher, didn't follow Rav's footsteps and did not allow a woman to swear. So she said to him, "Okay, in that case, if you don't allow me to collect my ksuva, then let my kids support me, because my husband said he'll continue to support me as long as I don't get my ksuva. So I want them to support me. Give me his food." She said to Rabba, "Have li mezayin." Okay, so paskin that the children, the orphans, should feed me, provide for me. Amala mezayin namis left. I can't give you food either. Why not? Because the Amar Rav Yehuda Mishmul. Rav Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel. So that was Rav, and now it's Shmuel. And Shmuel, Hatevas Ksuvasa Bezin. If a woman wants to get remarried, and she walks into Bezin, she says, "I want to collect my ksuva." The moment she says, "I want to collect my ksuva," Ein la Mazainis, she forfeits all the ksuvas, all the Mazainis, because the husband writes there in the star that that I will take care of you as long as you want to, you stay here. The moment she wants to get married, she forfeits a ksuva. And you pass like Shmuel that just demanding it was already enough. That you don't have to worry about if you're married or everything else. Just the fact that you asked the bezin to give you a ksuva, that already is tantamount to saying, "I'm leaving my husband is no longer covered of a husband that he should take care of his form of his widow." And goodbye. Amrullah, he said, "Avchul the kursaya, let your chair turn over." It's a curse. In other words, he said that you shouldn't be able to continue living because every chum you can find. I can't get my ksuva, so I'm stuck. And then you don't let me because I want a ksuva. It's called kerech mekan. I have bald hair and bald on both sides. Honestly, it's terrible. What did he do? He was scared that this is going to happen. This is the famous story of Hillel Parcher when he left Chernobyl to become a chassid of the Mitzvah Rebbe. He was cursed that he would lie there with his stomach up, with Pupakaruf. And as he was riding to the Mitzvah Rebbe, the carriage turned over something and he fell with it on his back. The curse was much worse than that. So he told Mitzvah Rebbe the story and he asked for a bracha. The Rebbe said, "You're already Yetzer, but just falling down." So Rabbi tried to do the same trick, even though it was a couple of thousand years earlier. He took his chair, turned it over, literally, and then he stood it back up again. So I'm Yetzer, your curse. Didn't help. This woman's curse didn't go all the way, but he actually became very weak as a result of this. This is what we mean when we say the law is cold and brutal, and there's no compassion in the law. Ein merachim badin. Studying about it further, all that we Yehuda said we looked about it yesterday. So Rabbi Yehuda said to Rabbi Yehuda Beiro, Adra bezin, I want you to go ahead in the bezin when a woman comes to collect the ksuba. I want you to follow the prescription of Mishnah, make a neder. And then he said, I want you to swear outside of the bezin as well. Because the machlekes Rav and Shmuel. Shmuel says you can swear outside the bezin. Rav, we have two versions of the Gemara whether he agrees with that or not. I want you to get them to swear outside the bezin. The lasik kola, I want everybody to find out about it, that we made her swear outside the bezin. And then the lepel bud noye, and then I will hear it in my ears, people talking about it. I want people to follow. I want people to what do you call it? To follow and know that the halacha is like my Rebbe Shmuel. Now, interesting. We're saying to prove that the Rav is not right, but rather Shmuel. That's how Rashi learns. But Rav Yehuda was actually first and foremost the Talmud of Rav. It's only when Rav passed away he moved over to Shmuel. Look how he betrayed his own Rav, or he changed his allegiances. There are many arguments in Rav Shmuel. You always wonder if when we learned with Rav, he passed Rav, so he would move to Shmuel. What did he do? And here you clearly see not only is it passing like Shmuel, but he wants the whole world to know. I mean, it's a Rashi. Rashi says that Shmuel Rabba, he wants to pass like Shmuel, his Rebbe, to prove or to say, I don't follow Rav. The previous Gemara. Anyway, interesting. So Gufa, let's analyze what we learned yesterday, the very end of yesterday's Gemara, where Rav Zayda said named Shmuel, there's a difference between a widow and a divorcee. A divorcee we allow her to swear because she won't swear unless she's 100% sure, and she's not going to, convince herself of any particular entitlements. But Almana, we don't trust her sure because she convinces herself she has certain entitlements. Gufa, I'm going to say Shmuel, I'm on a widow, I'm a grusha, but a divorcee must be nice, so we make a swear. Says the Gemara. Ugrusha, and you're telling, so it's not like a divorcee. The only option is to swear. This takana of a neder seems only was by a widow because we had no alternative, right? You couldn't swear, so this is what we do. Let's make this neder. But it seems it's not an option when it comes to a divorcee. The Gemara, this is not an option. Quite a grusha should have two options. A divorcee should have two options: either make a swear outside the bezin, he did not get part payment of it, or make this kind of an neder. In fact, we sent there from the woman was from Babel, and she and her husband both went to Eretz Yisrael. He divorced her there, and she demanded payment of her, so she was a divorcee. And the bezin there went ahead and said the following: Ich Palnisa, Bas Pliny, this woman, the Kabila Gita Miyoda the Achabat Hidya, she received her get from the hand of Achabat Hidya. The Miskari Ayem Mari also goes by the name of Ayem Mari. Now, this is interesting. I told you yesterday, there's an argument with Bahagir Rabbeinu Tam in the get. You actually write down all the names, or you just say the primary name and all other names, and you just write, and all of the names you known by. Rabbeinu Tam says that when the Gemara says all of the names you know by, you actually verbalize it. You write down what the names are. And here you see, Bar Hedya, they called Arim as one of the proofs. And anyway, the Nadal, she swore, but Asra paid her Shiva Olam Allah. So it's clearly here she had the option of what? Of making a neder. She made a neder that what? That if she is lying, then all the proofs will be asked her. So we see there is an option. So the Gemara said, and she swore like follows. And this is all in the Kadach. She swore she made a neder the like a bidlim because I did get part payment, but this is all I got. Ela geluf echad, one coat. Look at how it says a coat. What language is kotter? The sefer tilim echad, a sefer tilim. The sefer eav, you guys sefer eav. Mamshalas, and that's Mishlei from Shlomo HaMelech. Beluyim, and they were all worn away. They were all right. The pages were falling apart. I'm not sure what the relevance of that is, but Rishamnum and the Bezna says we assess the value of a part payment, and b'chamisha mana, and they assessed it that the total amount was worth 5 mana, and now she has the right to collect the balance of the ksuba. So what does he clear from here? And the extract it in writing. When she goes back to Babel, because that's where the assets are, which she's going to collect, he buys a shot. Subtract whatever that value is, the 5 mana, and then give it a balance. So we see clearly from here, it's an option. Why did you only say that the only option available for a divorcee is to make an edit? Then Rav Ashi, Who get Yivam and Hava? You got it all wrong. That wasn't a divorcee. That was the get of Yivam. Her husband died, and then all the brothers have a right to marry her. And one of the brothers went ahead and I guess did her a favor, gave her a get, which midrabanan, it's meaningless because she has a ties, a zika to all the brothers, and the only way that she's free is either through a chalitza or through getting married to one of the brothers. So one of the brothers went ahead and gave her what do you call it? One of the brothers went ahead and gave her a get, and by giving her a get, none of the other brothers now can marry her. So the pasuk she won't build, and now the only way out is a chalitza. So he helped her out. That is the get we're talking about over here, and therefore there is no option here. But a divorce, therefore she had this other option of making that. But a divorcee, maybe there's only one option. No you one way or another. Okay, so what happened was his kid Abigail Zaka the dead. Went ahead.
Second brother or first brother?
From the assets of her first husband, neither. She was wanted to collect, because what happens is whoever ends up marrying her takes over Yasha's all the assets, takes over the assets. So she now is going to collect from her husband's estate, and then the brothers, collect the divide the estate. So the came along with what? Make an end. This is all talking about This is all talking about if she did not get married already. So then we say to her, let us say, and they get part payment and all that. Abel Nisas, the moment she got married, there's no point in making it. This option is taken away. If she was a widow and we saved her, and we make this neder, but once you get married, you can't. And why? Because we learned the whole Gemara that we learned the whole Gemara in the Dorim that the husband, the Yom Shomei, he can be made for. The husband has the right to go ahead and cancel a neder. So what's the point of her making a neder and collecting a suda? Well, 10 minutes later, he can then, and she probably made up with the husband. Why not get an extra income? So the husband said, swear whatever you want, and then he'll come home and he'll go be matanet or made for her neder. This is my timer. Well, why not? Later, the husband can go ahead and annul her entire neder. So what was the point? That's the reason. Is Nisas Nami. Even if she did not get married today, she gets married in a month or two, she'll ask her husband then retrospectively to remove all the darim. So why would any widow be able to make this neder if someday in the future she can this neder can always be cancelled? Tomorrow says says we run to religion the darim that ain't abal mefer bekoidmi. It says in the pasuk Beisisha, the only time the husband could be matter her neder is if the neder was made while they were married. They were in a relationship, then he can be matter. But if it's a neder that she made prior to their relationship, then he has no. Remember, we learned that whole Gemara that by Arusa it's the husband and the father together, but he cannot annul any of the darim prior to their marriage. Says the Gemara, if we're worried about the husband who won't do the neder, we know there's another way of undoing it. Just go to 3 hadiyachas or go to a chacham and you mean mata neder. So if you have a problem, we cannot trust her with a neder because the husband can cancel it. So what's the point of her neder? She'll go to a rav and cancel her neder as well. Says the Gemara, she might go to a chacham and she'll be mata neder. Mata neder. Because we hold tzarich lefaret as a neder. We hold that when you go and you mata neder, you have to spell out the circumstances. You have to delineate in great detail why did you make the neder in the first place. And when the rav or the chacham will hear the circumstances, there's no way in the world to be mata neder. Which I understand it because there's another option. You can go to 3 hadiyachas. 3 hadiyachas have no idea of this halacha that tzarich lefaret and neder. They'll say just hakol mutulach and what we say and that's it. So. What does it mean? Anyway, so because he had to fire the neder, we're not worried, but we are worried the husband. Well, and he might be in on the deal as well because he benefits from this. Rab Nachman says, "Afilu nisas." Rab Nachman says, even if she got married, she can still make this neder. What about our concern that the husband will cancel it? Because not all the darim the husband can cancel. Nisas surely the husband will cancel it if this is a way of getting some extra income. Why would he not be party to it? The madrina. This is what we do. In this case, the chacham will tell her, "Okay, you want to make a neder? This is part of the takana, but we're going to make a neder that you cannot cancel. The husband cannot annul. If you make a neder in front of 10 people, you cannot annul that neder." and because unless all 10 people are there, and they're not going to. So because you made it, that's how we circumvent that problem of the husband being able to annul the neder. It's called a neder birabi. Says the Gemara. And we'll see this machlekes whether that's so or not. Basically, that's a question. Nisa, as it says, once you get married, so she can go ahead and collect the ksuva. If she got married, she goes back and collects the ksuva. How can a widow? How does she collect the ksuva? The only way she can collect the ksuva is by and it says here what im notra. If she makes a neder, that's the only option we have now. So we see clearly from here you can make a neder. So what are you telling me that this whole thing that once she get married, you cannot make a neder anymore because the husband might cancel? Clearly it says here that once she get married, she makes a neder and collects the ksuva. Says the Gemara. Rav Huna said, when can a mother make a neder only while she's not married? The moment she's married, she can no longer make a neder because the husband can come along and cancel it. Clearly, here it says that after she got married, she makes a neder and collects a ksuva. In other words, we're not worried the husband will cancel it. Says the Gemara, my lab, nodra hash. What are we talking about? She makes a neder right now. Says Gemara, no, the nodra mi'ikara. She made a neder before she got married. She made a neder before she got married. In other words, and therefore the husband can no longer. So even though she's married now, she can come back to ksuva because the husband can no longer know. As I said before, a neder that she makes prior to their relationship, the husband has no right to cancel. Yeah. Says the Gemara, but the Lashon, the text doesn't sound that way. You know what we're talking about? Another bride is a nisas. It says clearly she got married. No deres sounds like when did she make the neder? After she got married. They're going to say, what about the Ravuna? You said we don't. The husband can annul it. The Gemara say right. Tanoihi. This is actually an argument in Tanoim. If what? Remember we just said before. There's a way of making a neder even though she's married. The husband cannot annul. That is, if you make a neder in public in front of 10 people. And so one Braisa holds that that a neder b'rabba can never be annulled, so we'll allow her to make the neder after she got married. And the other Braisa holds that a neder b'rabba can be annulled by the husband. Therefore, the only option is if she makes a neder prior to the marriage. So Gemara Tanoi is actually machlekes to Namrika l'mandam neder b'rabbim yesh la'afara. You can cancel. So then, if she got married too late, there's no way you can make a neder because the husband can cancel even if there's no alternative. The husband b'rabbim cannot cancel it. Let's go back now to what you said before, that when you make a neder and you go to a chacham to be mata neder, you have to explain to the chacham exactly the circumstances why you made a neder in the first place. So that's a general question. Do you have to? Don't you have to go and delineate why you made the neder? Or you just walk in the chacham, look, I made a neder so and so, I would like to cancel it. And the chacham will say, what we learned before. Or you found a Pesach, a new opening, had you known that this would have happened, which already was there, but you just weren't aware of it, we just still maintain the neder. Rav Nachman says, "Ain't a tzarich, you don't have to." And Rav Papa says, "You do have to." Rav Nachman says, "Ain't a tzarich, no why?" Because if the law says that you have to explain the full circumstances of why you made the neder, we're worried the guy is lazy about if he chops up his words. In other words, he doesn't realize that how every detail is relevant, right? He thinks he just needs to know the general story. And he'll miss out some of the details, and the chacham only hears what he tells him. My deshama mefer said, based on what you said, I'll be mefer. Turns out to be that he missed out a salient detail, and then the whole hafara is worthless. So we're scared if you make a takana that you have to spell it out, and if you don't spell it out properly, then the hafara is not hafara, and you'll be over nisa deraisa that you're following the neder. So that's why you have to be mefara the neder. And Rav Papa says tzarich. Rav Papa said that you have to. Rav Papa said that you have to delineate the neder. Why do you have to delineate the neder? Because maybe the circumstances will tell the Rav, hey, in this case, I am not going to be mata neder. Forgot right here. He said, in order to collect my ksuva, I had to make this neder. And I said, if I'm a liar, then all these things are usher to me, so on. And now, if he's mata neder, it suddenly turns out to be that the whole thing was, and they want to, she lied and so on. You don't want to be party to that. So this is machlekes. Tonight we learned. So sometimes having a takana, even though it has a good reason, it can cause its own problems. And that's a machlekes between Rav Papa and Rav Nachman. Tonight we learned, even though they're 2 generations apart, so just in India they're arguing. Tonight we learned in the Mishnah. I know you say no shibaveda. Let's say a kohen marries a woman, you shouldn't marry unless he marries a divorcee. or a Giyad is possible. He cannot do the avoid in the base of Migdash. Yider Hana. In fact, we know Bichas Kainim. Very few areas that can prevent a Kain from duchening. But if he breaches the laws of Kohuna, for example, he's married to such a woman, he cannot duchen, do the Bichas Kainim until he divorces her, and he swears that he'll never do this again. The other one that he is interesting, if he was a murderer, Yidechem Dami Malay, you cannot Bichas Kainim. It's a big machlekes. If he did tshuva, does it help when it comes to murder? Because the fact is, there's blood on his hands. Another one is if he shmatzich. The whole discussion if he shmatzich to Islam, what happens then? Ajid no, until he is madir or not. The Tanei we learned, notice what he do. He makes a neder that he will no longer have any hana from a woman that's asa. But he's still married to her, but he swears that he won't live together with her. But he can go straight to a beeline to the base of English, and we're certain base of English, even though he's still married to her. And then I'll go to Megadish because, they need pressing, they need his help, and then he goes back, organizes the get. But the question is, if you tell me if you tell me that you don't have to explain the circumstances, if he goes to Chacham and says, look, I don't have any enough for my wife. Stop telling him that he's a kohen and that he's a grusha and that he went to certain ways of English. We don't have to tell many pratim. Just say, look, I made a neder with I will not have any anah, be mata neder. How in the world can you go ahead and rely on that and then this neder and let him serve in the base of English? So the isn't that a night that you have to explain the circumstances and then for sure the chacham won't be mata neder. Says Gemara de madrina lei berabi. I want that when we say to this kohen, you want to serve the base of English, make a neder. It's a neder that cannot be annulled. He makes a neder from 10 other people. Now we just learned before there's a machlekes whether we mentioned before there's a machlekes whether neder shehuded berabi can be annulled or not. Is how do you kill a neder berabim ein lafara? This is also when a neder huded berabim has no hafara. El madama yesh lahafara, but the one who says that there is. That a neder that you make in public can be cancelled. So how can we trust him just with the neder? The only way possible is that he has to explain the circumstances. He has to be part of the neder. No, chacham will be matter. So the madrina al das rabbi. There's bir rabbi and there's al das rabbi. Bir rabbi means you make it in front of 10 people. Al das rabbi means you say that the public have to agree with my renunciation of my neder, my recalling my neder. Because I'm going to name it the halacha is afilu l'mandam and neder b'rabbi. Two versions of what afilu, or whether even that the halacha is that a neder made in public you can cancel, but al das rabbim ain't lehafara. If you said al das rabbim, there's no hafara. And there's a big machlekes in the sheni when you say al das rabbim, does it also have to be made in public, or even if it's not made in public? I just say it al das rabbim, there's no hafara, and therefore this kohen swears. Al das rabbim, but there's no hafara. There's no hafara. Therefore, we can trust him and allow to go to the base of English. Has the Gemara v'hani mili ledover reshus. When do we say that a das rabbi cannot annul if it's tam you want for some personal benefit? Avol l'dvar mitzvah. If you're doing it for the sake of a mitzvah, yesh lo hafara. No, if the rabbin actually need you, then you can be made. And this is an interesting case. We have a very similar thing about Basta in the second Pedic, when we say that this particular Kohen Gadol, Yeshua ben Gamliel, should be favored because he made all of these rules regarding Jewish education. And then we talk about a teacher. What's more important? Discipline. We have a teacher who's too strict. And the Gemara doesn't like teachers who are too strict. On the other hand, that particular teacher, the Gemara Basta, was an unbelievable teacher. The kids who came out of the class knew Ivra, they knew how to learn properly. Like we learned that Yoav made a terrible mistake that he killed only the males of Amalek because his teacher in school, when he learned about Zecher Amalek, instead of Zecher Amalek or Zecher Amalek, he said Zocher Amalek. So he thought only males had killed. And we say over there a mistake that you learn in grade 1, even the all is very difficult to fix up. As you go older, you make mistakes. You find out later that you learned wrong shot, so you just change. But mistakes that you were taught when you were a kid is very, very hard to forget. So we hear it as well. There was this teacher. The Adil of this guy is terrible. According to Rashi, he used to beat the kids up physically. Others say, other things, but Rashi used to beat them up in order that they should learn. He had, if you go to any people who lived, before the war in the Cheder, they'll tell you how they dreaded going to Cheder because there was a kanchik, there was a whip hanging behind the rabbi's desk, and there was completely petrified. The Habib Pasha Biyanuk. So Pasha Biyanuk, Rashi says, was literally he beat them up. Rashi says, Chayvton Yosef. I think from time to time, a little caning is all right, but he did way too much. So he made a neder, and yet Ravina. Ravina came in and brought him back, and he was Mata Neder. The fact that he was the best teacher on the staff, and they couldn't find anyone equal to him. A medayik, that's the point here, that he was made sure that every kid read correctly and typed correctly and did everything correctly. The different Rebbes, the Rebbe Fabring spoke about how Rabbi Levi literally made a neder that if he goes, when he passes away, he's not going to go into Gan Eden until Mashiach comes down. And and each one somehow or another didn't happen. And this one, they made the Gan Eden bigger. He says he's not walking into Gan Eden, so through Gan Eden they made it bigger. Another one said that he's not going to go to Gan Eden, and then another one made a neder Barabim. So, but maybe the Shemayim, they passed like the one who said neder can be cancelled. And then the Rebbe said by Fabring that we'll make a neder that al das Rabbim. But here the Gemara says that even al das Rabbim, if in Shemayim they think that it's best for the ultimate purpose there with Achtonim that Mashiach shouldn't have come 25 years ago, come now, then they can do that as well. That's what happened. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem.